She made me wait 3 years, claiming religious beliefs meant everything to her, that her father's expectations couldn't be ignored, that marriage had to come first. 3 full years of waiting, of understanding, of respecting her boundaries. Then just 2 months after we broke up, she was sleeping with a wealthy coworker she barely knew. Now she's engaged to the guy. But the moment I finally moved on and found happiness, she came crawling back with tears and excuses. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy betrayal stories like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. I was 20 when I met Jessica at university. We were in different halls, me studying engineering while she focused on business. We crossed paths at a student mixer during orientation week, and something just clicked. She had this infectious laugh that made even my terrible jokes seem hilarious. Within a week, we were hanging out constantly, and it felt natural. By our third date, Jessica opened up about her background. Her father held a leadership position at their local church, and while she admitted she wasn't particularly religious anymore, certain expectations had been drilled into her from childhood. The big one, she wanted to wait until marriage before having sex. I wasn't some experienced guy. I was also a virgin at 20. So when Jessica explained her stance, I figured it wasn't the worst thing. We could explore other aspects of intimacy, and the full physical relationship would wait. For the first year, this worked fine. Both of us were swamped with coursework. But by the second year, I started noticing how differently my friends talked about their relationships. They'd casually mention staying over at their girlfriend's place, weekend trips together. Meanwhile, I felt stuck in this holding pattern. Things got complicated when Jessica finished her degree after 3 years. She landed a position at a consulting firm immediately, and suddenly everything shifted. She had a real salary, wore professional attire, and spent dinners talking about office dynamics while I was still surviving on student allowance eating cheap noodles. She'd tell me stories about her coworkers, this guy Marcus who drove a BMW, another manager who'd just returned from Bali. She never directly compared them to me, but I could feel the gap widening. Arguments became frequent. Jessica would suggest upscale restaurants I couldn't afford. When I proposed cheaper alternatives, she'd complain she was tired of student bars. The SXX issue kept resurfacing. During one argument, I asked when we could realistically get married given I had another year left and would need time after to save money. Jessica said she didn't know, that she couldn't abandon the promise to her father. I pointed out she barely attended church anymore, which made her defensive. About 6 months before everything fell apart, we had another massive fight. It was late on a Tuesday, and Jessica had just gotten back from some work function. She started talking about this senior guy at her firm who'd made partner before 35 and owned property in 3 different suburbs. Something inside me snapped. I asked her why she was even with me if all these successful guys were so impressive. She went quiet, then asked what I meant. I told her it felt like she was waiting for someone better, that I was just the university boyfriend she'd eventually outgrow. She started crying, saying that wasn't true, but then admitted sometimes she wondered if we wanted the same things. That stung because I'd been the one waiting around while she went to her fancy office job. I told her we should break up. She cried harder and asked if I was sure. I said yes. She left around midnight. We committed to no contact. I focused on finishing my final year, graduated in November, and accepted a graduate position starting in December. Then 2 weeks later, Jessica messaged asking to meet for coffee. Part of me was curious, so I agreed. She showed up looking the same, and after small talk, got to the point. She said she'd made a mistake breaking up, that she'd spent 6 months thinking about us and wanted to try again. I asked what changed. She said things were different now, that she was ready for a full relationship. Then she clarified, she was open to SXX now. Just like that. After 3 years of waiting, she was suddenly ready. I asked what changed her mind. She looked uncomfortable and said she'd realized her dad's expectations shouldn't control her life. I pressed her because something didn't add up. She went quiet, then admitted there was someone else during the breakup. His name was Brandon, worked in the same building. They'd met at a networking event in September. They went on dates, and things escalated quickly. She said he'd been persistent about sleeping together, and she eventually gave in. She said it happened about 2 months after our breakup. 2 months. Things with Brandon fizzled after 3 months, and she'd ended it weeks ago, which is why she was reaching out. I sat there staring at my coffee. 3 years I'd waited. I'd turned down opportunities with other women. I'd sat through countless conversations about marriage timelines and her father's expectations. And 2 months after we split, she'd slept with some guy she barely knew. I asked if she was only willing now because she'd already done it with Brandon. She said no, that Brandon had nothing to do with us, but the timeline was right there. She reached across trying to grab my hand, saying she loved me, that Brandon was a mistake. I pulled back and said I needed time to think. We left separately. I spent days going over it constantly. My brother said I should move on, that Jessica had made her choice. That weekend, I went camping with mates. Saturday night around the campfire, my friend Jackson asked if Jessica hadn't reached out. Would I have tried getting back with her? I thought honestly. The answer was no. I'd been moving on, looking forward to my job and maybe meeting someone new. I hadn't been pining for Jessica. That settled it. I didn't want to be someone's backup plan. When I got back Monday, my phone exploded with messages from Jessica. The first said she'd been thinking about our conversation. The second apologized. Then the third was different, saying she'd made a mistake reaching out, that she should have been honest. The fourth said she was back with Brandon. The fifth said it wasn't actually a fling, they were serious and she'd lied. I sat there reading over and over. She'd completely lied. I sent back one word, no? That night, I looked Brandon up online. Senior director at a financial services firm. His social media showed business class seats, expensive dinners, a black Range Rover. Then a photo from Singapore in December, right during our breakup. Jessica was with him at a rooftop bar. Caption said something about adventures with a heart emoji. So it wasn't casual at all. He'd taken her to Singapore. This was real, and she'd downplayed everything. I blocked her number.